Hello there. Welcome back to Lithuania. I'd like to try and form the Commonwealth. That's the goal I've set myself. Before we do absolutely anything though, there's currently a revolt in Poland. To be honest, this is very thematic. The King of Hungary is also the King of Poland. He abandoned Poland, which lost half its territory. Now the Polish nobles have revolted with the intent of dethroning him and putting one of their number on the throne. This is one of those believable worlds we've heard so much about. The problem is the Polish nobles can't actually get to Poland because they can't pass through our territory. So we want to let them pass through our territory. They hate us for obvious reasons. So we need to improve their opinion of us high enough that they'll be willing to accept military access. And that's going to be our priority for this exact moment. What do we actually need to form the Commonwealth? It may have been a mistake me handing out so much territory to vassals, but I wasn't really thinking, which I don't tend to do. But we need 185 provinces. We have 77 directly controlled by us. We also need to control 3 specific provinces or locations. Vilnius, which we control because it's our capital. Krakow, which is still under the control of the Polish and is their capital. And Warsaw, which is currently controlled by a Polish vassal. And of course, we need to destroy Poland. Hopefully we'll be able to achieve that. I was thinking the worst possible thing that could happen is that Poland could join the HRE, and then we'd be having to fight the HRE together with them. Hopefully that won't happen. We'll see, though. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world if it does happen. We are a little bit over our diplomatic capacity. We could start handing out vassals to each other, but I like to avoid doing that just because it feels, it kind of feels like cheating. So we'll avoid doing that for now. We really want to make the Polish nobles like us as fast as possible, so we're going to start bribing them. We'll send them 50 ducats, which will double their opinion of us. We really just need to get over that negative line. If we can get into the positive, or even just the low negatives, they should be willing to accept military access. In fact, let's send them economic aid as well. We'll max it for a second. We just need to get over that line. Now we're very close, we're just 5 off. Is there anything else we could do to just very quickly improve their opinion of us? Nothing's jumping out at me, unfortunately, so I think we'll just have to wait. We're very close to the point where they'd be willing to accept us giving them access. I suppose we could improve trust with them. I don't think it's going to amount to much, though. It's definitely not going to push us over the line, but it puts us within 5. So just a few months now of improving relationships should be enough. Yep, there we go. We'll give military access to the Polish nobles. They should just cross straight through our land and the land of our vassals and go to Warsaw, or Krakow even, and occupy it. Once they do, they should seize control of Poland, because this is the last of the Polish provinces, separating Poland from Hungary. With that in mind, we can stop giving them economic support now. They don't need it. Even though they win, I think we'll still have a truce with Poland, so it's not like we'll be able to immediately jump them. So let's think about another target. These 2 nations here also have land we need to take. It looks like Brandenburg has 1 location, maybe? There's also a lot of Bohemian land that we could take, but I think Bohemia is sort of nation we'll leave for a later date. Yep, there we go. The rebels have won in Poland. Poland is now liberated. In fact, we don't have a truce with the Polish anymore. That's excellent. So I guess we could just fabricate out on them and attack them. Let's start doing that right now. We'll begin building a spy network. I probably should have done this before, but it might have actually backfired if the spy network had been discovered, because it would have reduced my relationship with the nobles. So I think things are for the best. Now we'll grab the CB against Poland. Luckily they rivaled us, so we can get a destroy enemy CB as opposed to the religious war CB. The destroy enemy allowing us to take more territory. We might be able to full annex them in this war. We'll have to see. If nothing else, what we'd like to do is cut them off from the HRE. If I can find the HRE, yes, there's the HRE's borders. We want to make sure that when we take land, we take their border to the HRE and push them further east, which should stop them joining the HRE if things go pear-shaped for them, which hopefully they're about to. Alright, there's our CB available. Poland hasn't managed to get any allies. They're completely alone in the world, just them and their vassals. So we should have an easy time just rolling over them. So we'll declare war, show superiority as we like. And luckily, it looks like they've moved their capital to a weaker territory than what they had before. That's excellent. It was in Krakow, which had a fort, but they no longer has a fort, so we might be able to just grab it very neatly. It looks like some of our vassals immediately ran in and lost a bunch of battles, giving us negative war score, but it should be fine now that we'll join the field. In fact, it looks like the main Polish army is over there, sieging. That's nearly all of their army because they only have 9,000 men. So let's see if we can't get over there and grab that 8,000 or so. Yep, there we go, a full stack wipe on the Polish. Excellent. There's only 8,000 men now across all of their armies. It's mainly their vassals. Just a matter of catching them, right? There's that group. Do we know where the last 4,000 are? Looks like there's 2,000 up here. Should be a simple matter grabbing them. Yep, just 2,000 left now. The Polish don't actually have any soldiers. It's all vassal numbers, which does make things simple. Ooh! Just as we're about to beat the Polish, Hungary is attacking back. Not unsurprising that they've decided to move against us. Let's see, should we make peace with the Polish right now? We can't full annex them, but I didn't expect to be able to. It was kind of just a hope. So if we reduce them to something like this, they will completely cut them off from the HRE, so there's no risk of them forming or joining the HRE. The problem is antagonism. It's mainly going to be with Poland and vassals of Bohemia, so I'm not sure I'm that bothered. But is there anyone here? Well, there's Brandenburg. They're definitely going to take offense. The one that we'd really be concerned about taking offense, though, is Bohemia, and they are actually going to take quite a lot of offense to this. They do like us quite a bit because we've been dedicatedly improving relations, but it might be a tad too much antagonism. Let's give up more land, I suppose, while focusing on cutting them off from the HRE. We really don't want to see them join it. So if there's any territory they hold that directly borders the HRE, we definitely want to take it. I don't really like snaking like this, but normally I would say, you know, let's stomach the antagonism, but with Hungary currently attacking us, I'm not feeling that way. So let's take this. Should we take some money from them? It'll extend the truce. I guess we'll take the money. We might need it against the Hungarians right now. Poland is now trapped within us. We're not going to release any more land because we need to keep it. But before we do anything else, let's see about the war with the Hungarians. They have around 30,000 men. I think the tactic is likely just going to be withdraw back within our territory and see if we can't get them to come over and siege us down and then just kill them, or let them die on our forts, whichever works, right? They did also call in this nation. This is one of the nations we need to take land from in order to form the Commonwealth, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to take any land in this war, and I'm not sure I want to either due to the antagonism. So we'll just play on the defensive, see if we can't piece them out. My vassals are continuing to attack them, even though I'd rather they didn't. This was actually a no-CB war on the part of the Hungarians. I guess they really just saw us being weak because we were at war with Poland, and they were like, let's jump them. Whether that was the correct assessment on the Hungarians' part will remain to be seen, obviously. For whatever reason, Byzantium has been called into war. I guess they are allied with Hungary, so it does make a little sense that they would join. There's a very large stack of Hungarians about to attack us, but they're almost out of morale, so we should just win this. Yep, that's a full stack wipe. Pretty much ending the war, I guess, in our favour. We should just need to wait now till the Hungarians feel like things are over. They are getting a little bit of war score from occupations, but if we can kill enough of them, we can then march back and liberate the land they've occupied. They still do outnumber us though, so we need to be a little careful. None of those are Hungarian armies though. Hungary itself has essentially no soldiers now. Hungary's willing to make peace now, so we won't drag out the war. In fact, actually, if we want anything, we'd like them to end their alliance with this nation here, so that we could potentially, well, not potentially, because we'll need to attack them. But does it really matter? They are allied with the other nation we need to attack, so we'll draw them into a war there anyway, and we could just end the alliance them then. Let's see if we can't get the Hungarians to end their alliance. We only need a little bit more war score. We're sitting on -8 to them accepting. There, that's a big battle. Although I think actually, yeah, I think we're maxed on battle war score, so winning that battle means nothing. We need to liberate the land the Hungarians have occupied. I think we're just going to go for a white peace. The Hungarians are now feeling like they're doing so much better in the war. I'm not sure I agree because nothing's really changed, but we'll just white peace them. No reason to really drag the war out on our behalf. So of course, we now have a lot of Polish land that's going to be very rebellious. There's a good chance we will face a Polish rebellion. But if we do, that could be to our benefit, as it might pull in Poland into a war with us, allowing us to potentially take more land from them. We do need to be careful though. We need to be careful not to go too crazy. One of my greatest weaknesses, because after all we do have a lot of antagonism with the HRE. Since we now border the HRE, the last thing we want is for them to attack us. Though that largely goes without saying, right? We'll see about coring a lot of these provinces. We only control like one or two provinces or locations in each of these provinces, so it shouldn't be too slow to integrate them, but we're still likely to experience a revolt before we manage to completely pacify them. But as I said, it might be beneficial, so we'll kind of just let the revolt happen. Here's a nice event that's exclusive for Lithuania. It's going to cost us a bit of legitimacy, 20 in fact, but we get a government reform which increases our cultural capacity by 20%. Unfortunately, this isn't a reform that comes with a government slot, so it's not the sort of reform we can essentially just have for free, which is sad. It does make me sad. But we'll make it available nonetheless. When we get an extra government slot, we'll likely grab it, just because it means we'll be able to accept more cultures, which is never not beneficial, really. Right, we've annexed the small little nation here, so I think we now can potentially build a local governor here. We just need to get a road connection from Gdansk over to Vilnius. It's going to be a tad expensive. I'm thinking, is there a better way to do this? If we connect Gdansk across the river here or across the sea to this province, and then connect this province over to the existing road network, it might be cheaper than just going there willy-nilly. It's going to be expensive though. I'm wondering, is it even worth doing? Well, let's start laying the foundations, right? Thinking about it, where would be another good location to have our local governor in? Probably Krakow, right? Look at all the money it's making there. We don't control it, obviously, but making sure we have road networks wouldn't actually be too hard because we've already got an existing road network. If we just connected these two provinces here, that should be enough, actually. We'll, of course, need to annex everyone between us and take it for ourselves, but that's not outlandish. Our true sense with the Polish in next year, so let's think about building a spy network on them. Looks like Hussitism has appeared in Bohemia. This could be beneficial. Poland's actually joined the war on which side? They've joined on the side of Bohemia. That's not great. I was hoping they would join the other side, because then we could, pounce on them a little more, and they would almost definitely get stack wiped by the Bohemians. I suppose it's not the end of the world though. We'll continue waiting for our spy network to build up. Thinking about it, forming the Commonwealth doesn't actually elevate us to a kingdom, so we'll have to do it manually unless there's an event here that lets us become a kingdom. I'm not sure if there is though, so we'll need to think about becoming a kingdom our own way. We of course need to get a lot more pop. Surely that's a problem that will kind of solve itself though as we annex our vassals and take more land. Ooh, Poland has actually joined a coalition against us. Currently no one seems to be very antagonized by us except for the Hungarians. So I suppose we'll see if anyone joins it. Hungary's joined. That's an inconvenience. We are improving our relationship with the Hungarians, so actually Hungary has just decided that they don't care about our antagonism at all. In fact, they left the coalition. Well, alright. It could be that Hungary's decided they have bigger targets. Not my problem, either way. We'll fabricate the old destroy enemy CBO on Poland. We might be able to destroy them in this war. I'm wondering whether it's worth it though, because they do have a lot of vassals. If we conquer them, we'll take those vassals, and I kind of don't want to take them. I want to annex them, because we need the land, and we already have lots of vassals ourselves, right? We also need Warsaw, which is controlled by one of these vassals, I think is their capital. Yep. So we kind of want to integrate all of them directly instead of taking them as our own vassals. So I think what we may do is just really reduce down Poland to maybe where it's like one location, and then continue to attack them and take land from their vassals before finally eliminating them. Before we do anything else, we're going to grab professional armies. It's going to be a tad expensive because our traditionalism is very high, but we can afford a little malice to our stability in the short term. I'm not sure if I'll ever bother going for standing armies. I just don't think we have the economy to really afford it, at least right now. If I could get that road network over to Danzig, we'd definitely be making a lot of money, or a lot more money from the territory over there. And once we integrate Poland, we can start reaping the rewards from the lands of Poland. That feels rather like a long-term target though. Right, there's our CB. Poland still hasn't managed to get any allies. We are close to having a revolt by the lesser Polish though. We don't really want them to revolt while we're at war. Let's see about pacifying them. Yeah, we can bring it so that their revolt growth is below 0. So we'll pacify them for now. Let's declare war. Poland's even weaker than they were last time, so they shouldn't really be able to stop us. I'm thinking if we take all of their land and drive them back to just this little bit of territory, and then we can start thinking about annexing their vassals instead of them. Let's actually fight the war first. One of my greatest sins, thinking about what we're going to do in the post-war before we've even done the war in the first place. Not sure what the actual Polish army's game is. They're kind of just standing around here, so I guess we'll just kill them. That's that. There's only 1,000 men left, so shouldn't be a big deal. We will need to occupy Krakow because it is currently their capital. Shouldn't pose much of a issue though. And it's always better to occupy forts than not occupy them. I kind of neglect doing it, but when it comes to taking forts or provinces with forts, or locations I should say, the price of taking the land war score wise is increased if the fort is not occupied. So it's definitely something worth doing, just something I neglect to do, usually because the time investment in occupying forts doesn't feel worth it. And on an unrelated note, a new heresy has formed. I guess it exists in the world. It doesn't look like Byzantium's embraced it though. I suppose we'll keep an eye on it though. Not that we really need to do anything, but I'm not sure we want Hellenics in the world. Poland has capitulated. That makes things easier. Now we don't need to occupy all their forts. We'll take Krakow, obviously. How are we doing on antagonism? Poland obviously hates it, as do many of their vassals and vassals of Bohemia. How does Bohemia itself feel, though? I'm not seeing them in the list. Maybe they don't care. I kind of wish I could search through the antagonism list here. There they are. There's Bohemia. They're not going to hit 50, so I think we're fine. But I kind of want to take more. There's a good chance we won't be able to use the destroy enemy CB on Poland in the future because they're going to become too small and pathetic to be our rival. So what else could we take? We can annex the nation that has Warsaw. We could take just take Warsaw though, but it'd be very cut off, so I'm not sure it's worth it. I guess let's just take this little bit of land up here for now. We're likely going to need to spend a little time trying to shave off the antagonism, but that's not a big deal. We'll see if we can't get the Polish or the lesser Polish to revolt. We may be able to use that revolt to attack Poland again. We're not too far off our goal though. We need 50 more provinces. And I think annexing our vassals and annexing all of the Polish should be enough for that. Ooh, Hungary attacked us again. Again, is it unprovoked? It is. Another no CB war declared on us by Hungary. Well, that's fine. We're not immediately in a war with Poland, so we're a little more ready than we would ordinarily be. We'll, as usual, fight defensively. We'll tell our vassals to do the same. Might be inconvenient if the Polish revolt during this war, but I don't think we could peacefully pacify the rebellious Polish this time. They're just a little too angry, so we're likely just going to have to accept that they're going to revolt. Yep, there's the Polish rebels uprising. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. I should have demolished the forts that they controlled. I wanted to keep them though because we can use them against the Hungarians, obviously, but I definitely should have demolished some of them. I suppose they only took 2 forts though, so it's not too bad. Actually 3, because they took Krakow as well. That's unfortunate. At the very least, the Hungarians are bleeding out on the forts of our vassals at the moment. So while they're doing that, let's see if we can't clean up this rebellion. It may be a tad too difficult to fully defeat the rebellion and fight the Hungarians at the same time, but we'll see if we can't bring the rebellion to the peace table. Yep, there we go, annex the revolter. Luckily we only needed to occupy a few provinces for them to say, yep, we're out. Now we can focus on the Hungarians. I think we'll try and grab some of these sieging armies that belong to our enemies. If we can just hop on them and take them out while they're sieging, like that, boom. Actually, that was a stack wipe, that was excellent then. It could be that they were cut off from friendly territory since they don't control any of the forts here. I'm not sure though. Either way, it looks like some of our vassals are about to get caught by the Hungarians. I think they won though. I think they did win. That's excellent. This is a show superiority war because it's a no CB war, so our vassals actually winning fights is great for us. What else would be great for us is liberating this province or fort that the Hungarians took, so we'll do that, then we'll fall back. I do wish telling my vassals to attach to me and support me actually worked, but what are you going to do, right? Vassals will always do their own thing. We could peace out the Hungarians right now, actually. In fact, this is actually amazing. We'll have them end their alliance with these people, pay us war reparations, and we'll take as much money from them as we can. Perfect. It's always nice when a nation decides they want to be your money bag. I really should think about jumping these two nations, but I just don't think I need to, potentially, to form the Commonwealth. That's the sort of thing we could do after. If there is an after, I suppose. Normally I would demolish a lot of these forts we have, but we kind of want to keep them because of how we can use them for attrition. Or at the very least, that's what I'm telling myself. Whether it's true is, you know, a separate issue. How long does our truce with Poland last? It's going to expire in 12 years. That's quite a while, unfortunately. I suppose we could just relax for these 12 years. Right, truce is up with Poland. They formed a coalition against us again. No one seems to have joined this time though. We're just waiting on our spy network to get online, and then we'll see about attacking them once again. We've actually taken enough, or we have enough population that we could now become a kingdom. The problem is, of course, as always, the prestige. Normally, when it comes to prestige, we could just do lots and lots of royal marriages to get prestige up. Wait a minute. Byzantium has switched to Hellenic. I was going to say, oh, but we have no one we could royal marriage because we're a pagan and no one wants to royal marriage us. But I guess we could do royal marriages with Byzantium. They're not really likely to accept though because we're a different religion and they don't really like us. So getting the prestige we need to actually become a kingdom is quite difficult as a pagan nation, at least like us, where we have no other friends or allies that we could potentially royal marriage. I guess there's our vassals, but a lot of them are ruled by our dynasty, or they're fiefdoms, or they're Catholic, making royal marrying them actually difficult. But well, we'll just have to keep our eye out for positive events that give us prestige, and we can always humiliate people a little, I guess. Unfortunately, the humiliations don't really give much prestige. Right, let us strike at the Polish again. Probably not for the final time, but perhaps for a time. I don't know, maybe. Maybe we could full annex them and all of their vassals in this war. We'll as always have to see. I was wondering. But yes, Hungary has attacked us again in an advantageous situation because we are still deep in our war with the Polish. At the very least, we shouldn't experience a large-scale lesser Polish revolt. Our forts will have to do the work. Luckily, all of my vassals here are of my religion, so they're pagan, meaning their forts have the added extra tradition from their death god. So we might be able to just thin out the Hungarian numbers. Or not might, we will be able to thin out the Hungarian numbers a lot as they try and progress. I'm going to focus on trying to beat the Polish. It shouldn't be too difficult, they don't have that many more soldiers. The problem will be, of course, actually sieging down the last of their lands. We might have to leave that and focus on the Hungarians. Since the Polish were pretty much wiped out, I'm going to leave the sieging to our vassals, and I'm going to watch the Hungarians. We can see they've showed up here. It's currently winter, so they're taking double attrition. Essentially, our strategy when it comes to the Hungarians, well, actually, they're pulling back. I was thinking we would let them just sit on that fort and then grab any armies that come in. I wonder where they're going. They might come and siege Krakow, which... Ooh, they're actually just going to walk straight onto us. We should win this battle. Their morale's going to be very low. And yeah, we just beat them instantly. Not really sure what the game was there. To be fair though, that doesn't really put a dent into their numbers if we consider them, their allies and their vassals. They have more than 100,000 men. So losing, actually, we could make peace with them right now. I guess that one battle that they decided to take, I'll remind you, I had no desire to retake that fight, but that should be enough. We'll take 1,000 ducats from them and war reparations. That's perfect. I was just thinking we needed more money to help develop all of the land we've taken. And since we're about to annex Poland, I think, here, we need even more. So now we can pretty leisurely see about defeating the Polish. We just need to occupy enough that they capitulate. We may need to siege down a few forts, but if we're lucky, we might be able to get away without sieging down any. Yep, we're at 100% war score. They should just capitulate any second now. Yep, there we go. Full capitulation. Can we annex Poland and all of their vassals in this one war? No, we're slightly off. But I know I said I wanted to take all of the land we could and not leave any land to the Polish vassals, but in this situation, we could just give up this Polish vassal's land. They're going to become our vassal anyway, right? And we're not far off having enough provinces, so I think we can afford to leave 2 locations in the hand of a Polish vassal who will become our vassal. Right? How does this do us on antagonism? It's mainly going to be gained with the Polish vassals and Poland, but they're going to cease to exist, and then the Bohemian vassals on our border, and then everyone else is below 40. Venice is getting quite close to 50 though, but that's something to be aware of. It's not that concerning though. Where's Bohemia? Are they not gaining any real antagonism again? Oh, there they are, there they are. Only 29, I think we're all good then. So how close does that bring us to forming the Commonwealth now? 11 locations. Just 11 locations. We could just go around demanding locations from our vassals. That would push us over the line, definitely, right? We are integrating this guy here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 locations, so not quite enough. Another thing we could do is attack this guy here. That would give us enough without us having to do anything untoward to our lovely vassals. Don't be fooled by our income right now. A lot of this is due to the Hungarian war reparations. Now that we have so much money, I really want to get our local governor up in Gdansk. So let's connect the road network to our Vilnius road network. Hopefully that should work. Unfortunately, there's not really any other cities in Poland. There's only Krakow. And I don't think any of the existing provinces have enough population to be turned into a city. This one's quite close at 27,000. But it's also going to be very expensive to upgrade it to a city. But we probably want to get a city around here to just spread control. That's something we can think about. First of all, let's stop minting because we've gained a bit of inflation. I probably should have done that before I built those roads, but I'm sure we'll survive. Now we are going to start experiencing quite a bit of revolt from the massive amount of territory we've taken, and their pops that don't really like us. But I'm sure we'll be fine overall. We should actually start demolishing quite a few of these forts that are behind our lines. They're more likely to be used by rebels than us, so it's probably better to just get rid of them. I do want to keep quite a few forts though because of how we can use attrition. I'm definitely keeping more forts than I ordinarily would. Yep, our road connection to Gdansk is finished. We'll build a local governor there. Gdansk isn't making ridiculous money, but it's making some money. And the goal is really to spread our control around, not necessarily make lots of money from a location. I think we're actually already connected to the Vilnius network with Krakow. It's just that it passes through our vassals. Actually, looking at it again, I think part of it travels through this nation here. Perhaps not though. It looks like it goes around this way, so maybe it's fine. But it does mean we need to integrate these guys, unless we can get the road network to come around this way. It doesn't actually look that hard. If we just connect these two bits of road here, that will connect the road network to Krakow, so we only need to integrate this nation. And here's a revolt. We'll just quickly deal with this. They shouldn't really pose anything of an issue. I might not even need to raise my army. The good old vassals might handle it on their own. We'll raise our army anyway though. There, that's that done. Integrate them back into us. Our local governor's finished in Danzig, so we're going to start getting control in this area now. We are going to have a revolt from these pops, but they don't actually have any forts here, so it shouldn't be a problem. And then we have actually a noble revolt. I didn't actually notice my nobles' happiness going so low. Curious. Maybe there was an event that I missed. But I definitely haven't done anything to upset them, I don't think. Speaking of upsetting them, let's embrace banking. It's going to give us a little bit of a stability hit as usual. We're quite behind on our research, mainly because it takes a while to spread to us. I could use certain tactics like getting naval access to spread institutions. I don't really like doing that though. Feels cheap. Not having instant institutions is kind of part of the point of playing a nation that isn't in Italy, for example. We do have a unique option here, the 2 realms, which gives us an extra cultural capacity, which is excellent. Thinking about it, one of the things we could do is release a vassal. In fact, actually, we don't need to. One of our vassals is already the lesser Polish majority. We can use them. It's going to take 100 years or so for the 2 increased cultural opinion options, but we could increase lesser Polish's opinion of us to kindred, which would make it a lot cheaper to accept them and integrate them into our imperial core. Here's this revolt as discussed. Since they don't have forts, we should be able to walk in, and as we can see, our vassals are actually doing so right now. We might actually not need to do anything. Nope, the war ended before my soldiers even fully grouped up. Excellent. Unfortunately, the Lithuanian nobles have revolted. There's not much of them though. I just got very unlucky with various events that kept pushing my noble happiness lower and lower. But that's how things go. They shouldn't pose much of a threat. In fact, they don't control any forts. Just a case of walking in and killing them. Alright, that's done. Bohemia has set us as their rival, so we need to definitely be aware of that. To be fair though, we can probably beat them the same way we beat the Hungarians every time they attacked us. We're currently building a spy network against this nation. In fact, it's almost finished. Ooh, and here's the Age of Discovery. I pretty much always go admin, and this time we're going to go admin specifically because it's extra important for us because we get that missionary schools, which, as I always says, this isn't 10% pop conversion speed, this is 10 pop conversion speed. And since we're the only nation of our religion and we're surrounded by the wrong religion, converting people is very important for us. There's our CB, but we're about to have a revolt by the Lesser Polish. So I think we'll let that happen first. Unfortunately, they're likely going to take forts that I do want to keep, so I'm not going to demolish them. Poland is back, it seems. Once again, darkening our doorstep. Hopefully this can be a very quick war. We might be able to get away with taking the forts, or taking the nation without occupying the forts that they control. Ah, there goes our ruler. He actually had a poor time of it. A lot of his children just died very young. Bit of a bloodbath for him. He was very good though. 94, 194. His son doesn't quite hold up, being a 53, 39, 37. But it is what it is. Not everyone can be as good as Platypus. Platypus II has to take the throne now. Still not sure why the game is assigning Platypus as my character names, but it's just one of those things, we may never know. Alright, there goes the revolt, nice and easy. I'm thinking we attack that little nation that we need to get the few provinces from as soon as possible now. I was thinking Hungary might attack us, but they're currently at war, so there's a good chance they won't. Although they've just made peace, it looked like they actually lost, and this nation became independent from them, or took land from them. At the very least, Hungary likes us quite a bit at the moment, and they don't consider us a rival. Bohemia is a risk, as they are our rival now. But hopefully we can nip in, take this land that we need before anyone crazy attacks us. We are outnumbered in this war, as you can see, but by utilizing certain strategies, like massive attrition, we can hopefully overcome our enemies. Our strategy, as always, will likely be to get the allies of our enemy to peace out, and then we can think about going on the offense against them. Although our vassals didn't seem to get the memo and are just attacking all willy-nilly like. Ah well, at least we're able to catch a few of the enemy armies that are fighting with our vassals. Not a great battle there though. I feel like we took more casualties than we really should have. Our armies actually have a lot of cavalry because we have the advancements for Lithuania that gives us a lot of cavalry. So I would expect us to perform a little better, more like this. Alright, now that we've watched our vassals largely throw themselves onto the enemy's spears, let's swoop in and save the day. There's actually a big mercenary army here. We probably don't want to fight them. Let's see if we can catch this little stack of mercs here though, wipe them out. We could always call up mercs of our own if things get really hairy. It's something I'd like to avoid though. They have a lot of mercenaries, more than 30,000 of them. Fighting them is pretty unavoidable then. Let's not jump on these guys. I think we could win. Problem is that enemy reinforcements are coming in, so let's leave them. We'll move north. Ah, looks like they might attack us. Yes, they're gonna try it. I suppose let's see. And of course we lost because they are mercenaries, aren't they? Even though when the game says everything's going to go our way when fighting them, it always turns out that no, it's not. We could just wait for the mercenaries' contracts to run out. That is a viable option. Before we do anything, let's go on a side tangent and defeat these rebels that have showed up. We managed to get one of the allies to peace out. They were the ones without really any soldiers though. But again, they have the large amounts of mercenaries. They do also have quite a few levies and regulars. We may have to rely on old attrition to win it for us, unless we decide to call up our own mercenaries, which I would only like to do as a last resort. Aha, I saw that. Looks like the mercenaries have gone away. We can stop hiding now, although we don't have many soldiers left. The few fights we did decide to take really wore us down. But since they're sieging down our land, they'll be the ones to get worn down a bit as well. Alright, we haven't performed very well at all, but we've managed to do enough that the Ukrainians will peace out. Excellent. And the actual nation we're fighting only has 700 men. The good old mercenary swarm put us in our place, but now that that's done, we can actually think about winning the war. We are going to need to siege down some territory though, because our war goal is for this land that is actually quite forted. I should have selected somewhere else, but to be fair, all of this land pretty much has forts on. So it's not like there's an obvious patch I could have gone for that would have avoided the forts. And just like that, this nation decided to call up their own mercenaries and stack wiped the troops we had sieging there. Things really aren't going well. I suppose we've entered the mercenary period, haven't we? And I'm not in the mindset to do it, which is more of a failing on my part than anything else. We're going to grab the research that gives us the 20% discount on mercenaries, and once that's done, we'll grab the noble privilege. Once we have both of those, we can start spamming our own mercenaries. There we go. We've taken the fort here. That gives us access to the country. We didn't actually fight the mercenaries. They just ran out of the contract. For some reason, they just had them sit here and do nothing. But either way, that's the enemy doing nothing is what I like to see. Now we need to siege down these forts and the war will be over. Hopefully someone like Hungary doesn't attack us in the back while we're doing this. Although to be fair, if they were going to attack us, they probably would have attacked us when things were in a much more desperate situation. It's a little late now, right? Their window for causing trouble has kind of closed, right? So what do we want? I feel like we should destroy this nation just because of the trouble they've caused us. But I don't think we'll be able to base solely on the cost. Perhaps though, once we siege down some of the forts here, the cost should go low enough that we may be able to. Funnily enough, we've actually managed to get quite a bit of prestige from this war because we're at war with an enemy that is a threat to us. Unfortunately, you know, we're not going to be able to keep gaining prestige up to 50 to become a kingdom. It would be really cool if we could, so that we could finally graduate to kingdomness. But as I said, it just doesn't seem likely. Ah, the Teutonic Order revolted. I didn't actually notice. I was too distracted. Oh, they took Danzig. That means we're going to lose the local governor there. That's very annoying. Oh well, I guess. That's what I get for not paying attention. Right, these guys have capitulated. We can't full annex them, unfortunately. So I guess we don't need much from them, right? We're only a few provinces, so let's not get too crazy. Let's just take this. We could force convert them as well, actually. Let's do that. That seems like a appropriate punishment for their crimes, right? We'll take a few locations that we need, force convert them. We could also humiliate them. That'll give us 7 prestige, but that's not going to push us up to the 50 we need, so I guess we'll just leave it at that. We can now form the Commonwealth. I guess let's do it just right now. No reason to delay. We're now the Duchy of Lithuania, Poland. We get a cool flag. I imagine there's variants to the flag based on who we form it as. The fact that we're Lithuania first and Polish second is definitely relevant to that. Do we gain any new events? I probably should have been looking at the events before I pressed this. I think we may have gained some new events though. Yeah, so we can see here like the elective monarchy in Poland. I don't remember a lot of these events here. I think we only had one event in the Age of Reformation as Lithuania. I definitely think we have a lot more events now. I wonder if we gained any of the early Polish events or whether we've just gained... I think so. This one here, for example, that needs us to have a university in Krakow is probably a Polish event. And this Treaty of Vilnius here event, I don't remember this being at the top of the list. Or this University of Krakow event. So maybe we do just get Polish events together with our Lithuanian events now that we've become the Commonwealth. Doesn't look like we gain access to any new unique reforms though. I guess if we get an event that will give us one, that's an option as well though, right? Ah, now here's something. Because we're now essentially Poland, we're now going to get the Polish disasters. How curious. In fact, we have a revolt here by the Confederation. It looks like they're going to spawn in this territory down here. Let's actually demolish the forts here. I'm probably going to give this land out to a vassal anyway, since we don't necessarily need to control all this land now that we've actually become the Commonwealth. Let's let them revolt. We're now fighting in the Polish-Lithuanian. Shouldn't it be Lithuanian-Polish? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. The rebels are called Polish-Lithuanian, but we're called Lithuanian-Poland. Not really sure it should work that way, but it clearly does. Oh, I forgot a fort. They still have this fort. I should have demolished that one as well, but too late now, I guess. At this point, if I see any event that gives us prestige, I'm just going to grab it. We're so close to getting enough prestige that we can become a kingdom that I don't really want to not get it if there's potential. For some reason, this nation up here has actually joined the Teutonic Revolt, so I think we'll try and humiliate them. Hopefully we don't have to do too much to get them to peace out. Just sitting on their capital, occupying it, should hopefully be enough. Yep, there we go. We'll humiliate them. That's 5 prestige. We just need another 5. It's whether the game will grace us with a 5 prestige. Oh, well, there we go. Hungary has decided to attack us. We're actually in the worst possible scenario to be attacked by Hungary, as we're quite shredded on our levies, still in a civil war, still have this revolt. I guess let's just annex the Danzig revolt. Well, actually they refuse. That's strange. Normally if this option is available, it's not something they refuse. Before we do anything, let's look at the Hungarians. It looks like they've come alone. They've only brought their vassals and no one else. Oh, there goes the rebels. I was going to say let's call up a bunch of mercs, but maybe we're fine in the war with the Hungarians, at least right now. The Hungarians are laying siege to us, but they're of course getting attritioned. Apparently they've already lost 10,000 men to the attrition. We'll think about dealing with them once we've done with Danzig here. I think our vassals must have swooped in and annihilated the Hungarians, actually. They've lost 48,000 men, and we haven't done anything because we were busy sieging Danzig. But you know what we can do? Get 5 prestige from the Hungarians. Let's make peace right now. What's our prestige at? It's not fully gone below 445. Let's just do it. I don't want to take the risk. There. Now we can become a kingdom. Now we're the Lithuanian-Polish Commonwealth, as it should be. Took a little bit, but we got there. Now the next hurdle of becoming an empire is much further out there, needing 70 prestige. With that in mind, let's actually just spend a lot of our prestige now. Let's accept Polish culture. That is going to push us a bit over our accepted cultural capacity. It might have actually been a mistake, but I feel like it's appropriate to accept Polish culture as the Lithuanian-Polish Commonwealth, right? Let's rebuild the local governor we hand over in Gdansk. Then let's integrate this little nation here. Then we should have the road connection to Krakow, so we can throw down the local governor there. It's not foolproof, obviously, but it will help at least a little with our control numbers. Then there was the city over here. Actually, it's got enough population that it could become a city now. So we just need to get the money for it, which shouldn't be too difficult, though we're not earning too much right now. As I've discussed, a lot of that is due to us having very low wealth compared to our tax base, because a lot of these locations in our nation are just sitting at zero control. Once we connect to Krakow and build the local governor there, that will help. I definitely think I've encountered a bug with the platypus naming here. I'm not using any mods or anything, but for some reason every child or every son is being named platypus. And when I press to give a random name, it doesn't seem to work. How odd. I guess platypus is like the bug name if something happens with the names list. But I said I don't recall doing anything. We're definitely playing unmodded. Aha, here's this disaster triggered. It's going to massively impact us. Minus 50 stability, minus 25 legitimacy. Horrible. So how do we finish it? We either need to increase the power of the nobles, increase the power of the burghers, or gain very high crown authority and give out this privilege, golden liberty. Requires us to have 50% crown power. That's going to be quite hard to achieve, mainly due to the amount of population in our subjects. I guess we'll let the disaster play out for the moment and see what happens. The big decrease to our stability is going to make Pops very unhappy, and as we can see, we've got a bit of a revolt. Shouldn't be too hard for us to deal with though, but we do need to keep an eye on our revolt risk, or not risk, increases. Our stability will increase fairly quickly because of how low it is, but whether it can increase fast enough to prevent the revolts is unlikely. We'll just have to be ready. Hopefully we don't get attacked. I guess we just beat the Hungarians, didn't we? So they won't be attacking us anytime soon, and no one else has really attacked us, so maybe we're all good. There's the revolt dealt with. If nothing else, we can extract a little bit of money from them. Now, thinking about this disaster, I imagine just finishing it the noble way is probably the intended way to do things, to represent the power the nobles take within the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Of course, I'd love to do it our way, but it's going to require us getting more than 50, apparently, crown power, which is going to be difficult. And unless there's events that can trigger that give us... I suppose we did have one. We did have one event that gave us a little bit of crown power. It's really our vassals dragging us down, though. We need to integrate lots of them. I suppose we can do that, though, right? It'd be a bit of a long game, and it would mean staying in the disaster a while. And the effects aren't great, what with the decrease to state satisfaction and the increase to the cost of court. Here's one of the events. Problem is, it really upsets the estates, increasing their unhappiness by 50%, which would drop it down to 0 for both of them. It also loses us stability, though it does give us legitimacy. Stability's the thing here, though, right? I guess in this situation, we should give out the privilege to the burghers. We need to be kind of flexible with these events, both prioritizing handing out privileges to the weaker of the estates and being aware of the revolt risk. I mean, we can just let those estates revolt and crush them. It's not like that would really cost us anything. Speaking of costing us anything, we have another government reform. Nothing I don't think that would help us with our current situation. I guess we could get the feudal nobility just for a little bit of increase to the satisfaction of the nobles. Or we could go for royal decree for that extra 10% crown authority. We do need crown authority after all, right? We could also grab autocrat for the same reason. I was thinking we were going to grab our unique privilege, although I'm not seeing it. Our supreme dukedom. Oh, because we became a kingdom, are we no longer eligible for the supreme dukedom? That sounds kind of silly, but I'm not seeing it in the list. Maybe we're just not eligible for that. Let me just look to see that I'm not missing it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. How odd. Oh well, with that in mind then, let's grab the royal decree and see about pushing our crown authority higher. We could also switch out our diplomatic traditions for autocrat, but in this situation I don't really want to decrease our stability more than it already is decreasing, right? Another thing we could start doing is building buildings across the nation that increase local crown power. That's going to be a tad expensive, and I'm still saving up money so that I could turn this location into a town or a city. What's it at currently? It looks like it's actually lost a bit of population, probably due to the revolts. That's annoying. We can just divert population there though. We've had a nice event here. Apparently one of our fellow family members has increased our stability and legitimacy a peck. Always nice to see the family supporting each other. I'm actually wondering whether I should even bother with legitimacy spending right now. We can't trigger disaster from having low legitimacy because we're already in a disaster, right? And so instead we could focus on getting stability up. Our low stability is what's going to lead to revolts, and it also negatively impacts estate satisfaction. The rate of which legitimacy affects estate satisfaction isn't as high, and so it's not as much of a concern. We're not going to leave it low permanently, obviously, because we do need to get it up for the crown power bonuses it will give us. But for the moment, let's save up our money a little in preparation to build a city here. We've got another event about the demands of the estates. I kind of do want to accept the noble one this time because they're going to get integrated Lithuanian land. And that's quite a good privilege. It does strengthen them though. To be fair, their power's only at 48% right now, and it does give us the stability. I don't want to do the burghers one because it's going to give them burgher land rights, which suck. So I think we are going to give the nobility what they want this time. This time though, right? I think we'll leave it here. We managed to finish our goal of becoming the Lithuanian Polish Commonwealth. It may end up being more of a double-edged sword than anything else though. Well, with us now getting the disasters. I do feel like I really want to win this disaster as the crown power way. As the crown will take quite a bit of doing though, mainly because we just need to integrate all of our vassals and get our control up. Honestly though, the disaster isn't too bad. There are much worse disasters. Just that 10% minus to our estate satisfaction and the 0.5 malice to legitimacy is pretty damaging. But we could probably just stay in this disaster forever really, until we overcome it. Once we get our stability back to 0, we're basically going to gain around 10% estate satisfaction anyway. Though to be fair, when our legitimacy hits 0, we'll of course lose around 5 estate satisfaction, I think. Maybe a little more. But I definitely don't think the situation is insurmountable. We could always just surrender to the nobles and give them everything they want, but surrendering to the nobles, that's what got Poland, Lithuania destroyed, and we aren't Poland, Lithuania, right? We're Lithuania, Poland. Where they went wrong, we'll go right. But I think I'll do that on my own time, for my own pleasure. Thank you, Lithuania, for being so fun to play. I do hope we eventually get something for their religion. I really don't like the fact that we just... I mean, I don't mind the generic pagan religions. I actually think they're quite good. But there's just not much to do with them, right? You press a religious aspect, and then you probably don't interact with the religion again for the rest of the game, unless you're really switching around your religious aspects. I really want a religion that you engage with more. And out of every pagan religion, the Lithuanian or Baltic pagans probably deserve it the most. But for now I'll say, thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I've also just noticed that England has conquered Scotland, which is a little disappointing. In fact, let's take a look at the world. We've got a big Crimea down here. In fact, we got 2 Crimea. Oh, no, we don't have 2 Crimea. No, we do have 2 Crimeas. For some reason, I thought this was a Genoese vassal for a second because of their colour. But that wouldn't explain why they're called Crimea. So we do have 2 Crimeas. And one of them is actually in 2 places at once. And neither of them are Crimea. The Ottomans have actually expanded a little bit, though they haven't taken Constantinople and were past 1453 when they should have. Byzantium, as we talked about before, actually switched over to being Hellenic. Rare to see, and not something you really like to see either. France is doing its usual thing of eating into the HRE, nothing to really look at there. Although Denmark has lost land to Holstein. Wonderful. Glorious. Definitely pleasant. Let's take a little look at our religious map mode, actually. How well have we done on converting? Not amazing, but not terribly either. Our fiefdoms have done a lot of converting down here and up here. If we weren't taking all the locations because we needed to control them to become Poland-Lithuania, we would have handed this out to probably mainly fiefdoms, because we already start with a lot of vassals. All of Poland would probably be pagan now. On the cultural front, we haven't really spread very far, but that's, you know, not crazy. There's nearly 500,000 of us in the world now, though, and I don't think we start with that number at the beginning. Funnily enough, when we unify our culture group, we'd actually have the choice of being called Lithuanian or being Baltic. I'd probably go with being Lithuanian, but that's just me. We did manage to rescue a lot of the smaller cultures of other Baltics here in the region. Prussian definitely hasn't expanded and eaten all of them like they would like to do, so I'll write that one down as a win. But I think that's everything we want to look at. So I'll say it again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.